Street gospel, light of the tempo. Sword swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Black burial, the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One. And this is episode number... Yo, Cam, what episode is this? 53. Yo, if you caught our last episode, episode 52, it was with Pastor Adam Friedrich from Elevate Ministries. Mine and Cam's good friend. I mean, and my pastor. I mean, Pastor Adam and Pastor Joey trying to recruit Cam to come to church over there, but he got his own thing going on. I don't know. He goes to like some weird church, man. I'm not messing around with you. My bad. Great podcast. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. Okay, so a couple of things we need to go over, everybody out there. If you like the podcast, please share it. Send it to somebody. Go on the YouTube, copy, paste, send it to somebody. Say, hey, man, check out this podcast. It's a great podcast. Also, please subscribe. So on YouTube, go to Street Gospel TV, or if you want to search Street Gospel Podcast, either one, please subscribe. And then wherever you listen on, if it's on Apple, Google, Anchor, whatever podcast platform you listen to us on, please subscribe to that podcast. But the biggest thing is getting the word out. So if you can, repost, share it, send it out to somebody. We really need that. And if you want to be a monthly contributor, go to Anchor, check out our page, and you can contribute monthly. I mean, they have 99 cents, $4.99, $19.99. You can just contribute. That helps keep the podcast moving. Or if you go on YouTube, there's a thanks button. You can press the thanks button, and you can drop a little donation to the podcast. But we'd really appreciate that. So enough with all that. Got a really good guest today, man. And, you know, I always like to play like a little bit of a banger, you know. And this dude, I known him a very long time. He was out of my life for a long time, came back in for a short time, and then he miraculously disappeared again. And then when I found him again, his whole life was different. I didn't even know what had happened to him. And then we kept running into each other, and we'll get into that. But this guy, he is a believer. He is a husband, a father. I just found out he's a grandfather. He's a motorcycle enthusiast. He's a musician. He's a worship leader now. A veteran for a short time. A lot of other things, man. But we're going to get into it. But I want to welcome my longtime old friend. And I say that a lot because a lot of people that come to the podcast are my friends. But he is one of my friends. Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast, Mr. Chris Mora.
Oh, what's up?
What's cracking, man?
Man, just honored to be here, be a part of this. Just amazing.
So, we've been running into each other. It's funny because we've known each other a long time.
Right.
We were kind of separate, and then I for a lot of reasons, right? And then I seen you at your uncle's, was it his 60th birthday?
Yes.
It was 60th birthday, right?
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, I haven't seen you in, I don't know how long. I mean, it's probably like...
Since the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long time, right?
Long time, yeah.
So, seeing you, life had changed. Yeah. Things were different now. I was really happy for you. But then, we ran into each other because we have some mutual friends.
Yes.
And they like to have, whenever they have a celebration, they have a party.
Huge.
Right? So, they have a huge party. They go all out. The funny thing about that is we're at a party, and I'm like, wait, you know that? I knew you knew them because you grew up with them, right?
Yes.
And then I was kind of like tripping out because I was like, Chris is here. Like, and it was so funny because I seen your name on the list at our table. So I go to the table and then you come, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun. So you know them, we're having a good time, and then once again this past 2 weeks ago.
Correct. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
They had an anniversary party. We showed up. You showed up. Of course, they sat us at the same table. Yeah. Great time.
Great time.
Fun. But that first time was really fun because we started dancing. And I remember my good friend, your cousin slash pretty much brother, Phil. I sent him a video of you dancing on the dance floor, and he's like, "Where are you at?"
Yeah.
And he's just like blown away. I was like, "I'm at a mutual friend's, their daughter's party, and Chris is here, and you were dancing." But I think I didn't answer him for like a good hour.
I got a text message. He was like, "Yo, what are you doing at a thing with Dave?" We have mutual friends. We're out here.
Very nice people,
Yeah.
Josh and Joanne, their whole family and stuff. But good to have you on, man.
Man, blessed to be here.
So we go back. I don't remember, but I know what the case was. You got sent to go live with your Uncle Phil.
Yes.
Right?
I was 13 years old.
Which is my good friend Phil's dad.
Yes.
You know, I know their family really good. So that's how I got to meet you through Phil, right? Because that's your uncle.
My uncle, yeah.
Now, why did you get sent to go live with your uncle, man?
So it was, we were living out here at the time in Ontario, right down the street. And, man, I was already running the streets out here. I was 13, 14, strung out on dope, messing around, running around. And my mom was like, "I've had enough. Go live with your uncle." And I was a latchkey kid. My parents were at work, all day.
And you're the youngest, right?
I'm the baby of 8.
Yeah. So by the time they get down to you, and this is every family, the youngest gets away with everything because by the time they disciplined all these other kids, right? They put in work, and by the time they get to the youngest, it's like, whatever.
Yeah. But I was running crazy, so they sent me to live everywhere. Like, I grew up everywhere. I lived in Bullhead City, Arizona with my grandma for a little while. They sent me to live in Bloomington, Illinois with my brother, and then with my uncle in Southgate.
So that's where I met you from. So I think the crazy thing about you, I think it was always you. I mean, if I could describe you when you were younger, you look like Squints.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Glasses, teeth, big old smile, skinny as a rail, right?
Yeah.
Wearing a hat. It's just like you gave off Squints vibes. But you weren't. There was kind of like a facade here, right? Did you use that to your advantage? Because you were a crazy kid. That's what I always remember. You're a crazy. I didn't know you were that bad, but I knew you were like a kid that was willing to do like whatever.
I think growing up, I didn't have an identity. I didn't know who I was, and I was searching for identity. So if it was cool and it got me attention, I would do it. So that meant anything. I would, getting in trouble at Pico Rivera Sports Arena to see who could spray hairspray in their mouth the longest. Conferences, just running around throwing golf balls off the balconies and stuff.
This is wild stuff.
I was just wild. I was the wannabe kid. I wanted to be like everybody else who was cool, but at the same time, I was just looking for who I was because I'm the baby of 8. I'm the only one with green eyes. I really don't look like none of my brothers. Now I kind of do, but growing up, I didn't look like anybody in my family.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. I only remember one of your brothers. I don't know which one, but he was always around. But he was a little bit heavy.
Yeah.
Not heavy, but he was a little different. Yeah. He looked like a little bit nerdy. He just was different. And
they were different.
You didn't look like them at all.
No.
I mean, so it was like a lot of. I didn't know how. I never put 2 and 2 together as far as like how you were related to, our friend Phil and Lil Phil. Yeah. Your uncle and your cousin, right? So you were just there. You just popped up one day, and I'm like, this kid's kind of funny. I think I just probably got married. You knew my wife back then. Maybe just dating, right?
I think you guys were dating. This was when conference at East LA College.
Yeah, church conferences. You would come around, see you. We were friends, but I always said this kid's crazy, man. Yeah. Funny but crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So you start getting in trouble.
Yeah.
You get sent to Uncle Phil's, right? This is not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at all, right?
No.
You get sent. I don't know if you moved from. You moved from Ontario to Southgate. I mean, the environment is. It depends what part of Ontario you lived in, but the environment is not that much better in Southgate, right? It's still all around you.
Yeah, they tried to put me in Southgate High, and Southgate High was like, we don't want nothing to do with him. He's going to have to go to San Pedro Skills Center. So I would jump on a bus in front of the Wiener Schnitzels in front of Southgate High.
Firestone.
And take a bus, hour and a half, each way to the military base in San Pedro. And it was like a skill center where I was taking like flooring classes and trying to get just my GED and all that stuff. But little do you know, I'm out there just getting high every day in the hour bus ride, sobering up to get home.
How did you get introduced to drugs, man?
It was here in Ontario. I was a little wannabe tagger running around, tagging in my Chaffee High School. And Josh, their cousin, who was my best friend at Chaffee High School, and him introduced me to drugs.
Is it that big dude at the party?
The one that kept shouting out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That dude.
Yeah, that dude. And, he introduced me his, without saying too much, his family was all into that. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, So I jumped. There was no testing the water. I fully dove in.
Were you trying to fit in once again?
For sure.
Because that's one thing I noticed about you. Like, you could pretty much get along with everybody. I kind of made a joke in the beginning, but you could dance. You're very funny. And I don't say that to a lot of people because a lot of people think they're funny and they don't make me laugh. But you make me laugh. The motorcycle thing, playing an instrument. It seems like you have been like this adapting kind of guy. And maybe was it because of the way you looked and you had to realize, like, I got to make friends right away and figure out something.
I mean, the nerdy kid, big teeth. I was not Mr. It, but I was always, what happened was when I started getting older and I would get picked on more, for some strange reason, I learned that, oh, man, I can fight. So that got me through. And then a couple good ones, and everybody's like, oh, Chris is all right. Chris is kind of cool. When in reality, I'm just scared fighting because I don't want to get beat up. But it was just me growing up.
Okay, so you weren't a violent kid. You were just doing it because to survive or to fit in?
I don't say I was a violent kid, but I was doing it to fit in.
Okay. I thought you... Okay, we'll get into the other stuff, but okay. I thought you were like just violent. There was a time when we reconnected. I think you were at college. You came out. I was doing music.
Yeah,
and I kind of thought like Chris is like different. Like this guy could get violent.
I had a little violent spree.
Okay,
yeah.
So, but that was out of necessity, basically. That's what you're saying. You had to be that way to survive.
I think in the beginning,
in the beginning, yeah.
And then when I got older,
it just was part of you.
It was part of me, and I just used it to. They say I had because I took all these classes right in college, and they said I had a cognitive distortion.
Okay.
Where I thought everything was a life or death situation. Yeah. So like it could just be an argument.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense to me. I think that, yeah, you had a quick fuse.
Yeah.
You never got a quick fuse with me, which was I was grateful for. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this guy's kind of little, especially when you got older. You weren't little Chris no more. You're like tall, lanky. I don't know, glazed over eyes, looking at me, kind of. What's up, Dave? And I'll be like, what's up? But I think that's important to bring about because I think there is a lot of kids like you where they either run and hide because of the way they look, or they end up saying, well, whatever. They discover I can fight, or I can get a little violent if I need to survive. Well, let me go this route then. And that's kind of what you took.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I was just, again, just trying to survive, but at the same time, I guess you could say I didn't want to look weak or look like a punk, but I was a pump up case, Oh, he's looking at you funny. Who?
Oh, you were that guy.
I was that guy.
Which trips me out because you said you hanged around with Josh. Well, I guess it makes sense that you hanged around with his cousin.
Yeah.
But Josh and Joe are good dudes.
Yes.
I mean, those are the people that we went to the event for. The anniversary party, right? Seemed like good dudes.
Yeah.
Right? They're still good dudes, right?
Yeah.
Family guys. So when I it didn't make sense to me, but now that you said, well, I was hanging out with their cousin mostly.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Josh would come rescue me. I would be strung out, probably hadn't eaten in a week. You know, probably weighed 120 pounds, if that. You know, my teeth are big, so back then, well, you could film a movie on them. They were huge, you know. And he would come like, hey, get up. And he would take me to his house in Pomona, and they would nurse me back to health, and just the family would love on me. Regardless, they knew I was a teenage runaway. I hadn't been home in like 6 months. And they're like, come to my house. And then I would get a little, and then I would go home. And then
started all over
again.
So when you went to Phil's, how long did that last?
Maybe a year.
It was only a year?
A year and some change, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe. Yeah.
So
maybe a little longer. I'm not sure.
And then you got sent. And then you were just out in the streets.
No, and then I went back home.
And what's your mom and your dad saying? Because I've met them, right? Your dad passed, but your mom, super nice.
Yeah, super nice.
Super nice. Your dad's quiet.
Yeah,
quiet guy. You didn't really match with them because they were really low key nice people, man.
My mom was, you know, my mom fought the devil for me. You know, I remember being out running the streets and coming home, and on my closet there was a little cross you could see dripping from the oil.
Wow.
And she said she fought because, man, I was, you know, stealing my dad's gun and selling it. They would get it back. I would steal it again and sell it again, and then just be getting high in my room. So my mom would be like, there's evil in this house. And to this day when we talk, she's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, Mom, there was. Because I was just nuts.
Did they ever get to a point where it's like, you got to go?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was maybe a sophomore.
So you were young.
Yeah. I was young. My dad threw me out.
And you were already, what were you messing with already?
I was already on meth, smoking crack.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But mostly meth. And I was just bad. I remember coming home, I couldn't even talk. I looked like trying to talk to my dad, and he was like, he closed the door on his room to me and was like, go to your room. And it was just, you know, sophomore year, I think I stole my dad's gun one more time, and he was like, I came home, he opened the door, where's my gun? I said, I don't know where your gun is. He slammed the door and said, well, you don't live here then.
Wow.
And so I went back to the cousin's house. I went back to Eric's house.
You're chilling over there.
So
were you just like couch surfing there?
At one point they called my parents and were like, hey, can he go to school and just stay with us?
Oh, so that was cool.
And then my mom was like, no, if he don't live here, he ain't going to school. It was crazy, you know?
Did you have any intentions of going to school? That wasn't on your mind no more, right?
Nah, I wanted to run the streets as hard as I could at that time. I just wanted to be out there.
How were you getting money for drugs?
I was stealing anything and everything.
Really?
Yeah. I remember, man, I was probably 15, and I hit a dealership, and I was walking with all the pull-out stereos at the time, like a stack of them through the alley, and somebody came and picked me up and gave me a ride. And that's how it'd be like a swap meet at my mom's house. I'd go out and stealing at night and then line everything up, and people would come over and just take what they wanted.
Were you a good thief?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what a good thief is.
I mean, did you ever get caught?
Nah, not for stealing big stuff. For stealing little things, yeah.
Stupid. For Doritos at the liquor store, something stupid.
Getting caught stealing at my mom's job while she was working, that was the worst.
You stole it from your mom's job when she was working?
Yeah, she worked at Rite Aid.
Wow.
I got caught stealing there, yeah.
What were you stealing?
We won't talk about that.
This must be something stupid.
Super dumb.
The tough guys over here stealing Ben and Jerry's or something stupid, right? So so you're out in the streets, man.
Yeah.
At this time, I've probably seen you a few times here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Play basketball a few times in Salt Lake, stuff like that.
Basketball, things like that. I would see you. I didn't realize, and I don't know, that you were that bad.
Yeah.
I knew you were a crazy kid. I knew you had some issues, but I didn't think that you were. I guess is like we said, it was the look. You know what I mean? It was the glasses. It was the teeth. It was the skinny Chris, funny Chris. You always had a smile on your face no matter what too. So I think it kind of offset me a little bit where I didn't really see that. Oh, this kid's having a problem. Maybe Phil knew, but then Phil never told me anything. Like he would never say like, nah.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that I was back in Ontario, and I had already gone to one men's home as a kid, like 15, 14 years old. They sent me to a men's home in Fontana at a church called Peace in the Valley, and I lasted like 3 months. But all it was OG gangsters. Like,
were you doing good?
I was doing good for those 3 months, but there was just old school, straight gangsters, pinteros, dudes that have been in prison for lots and lots of years, and so I wasn't learning nothing but how to be like them. Right?
Yeah.
At a young age. And so I get home. That night I get home, I call Eric. Hey, where you at? I'm at a party. I'm on my way. And I was out on the streets again for another 6 months.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Did you ever have any sense of God during that time? Because here's your Uncle Phil, pastor, good family. You were going to church with them. Your mother was praying for you. Any sense of God in your life at that time, or were you just like, I
don't think I ever really thought about it back then. But I know I was young when I gave my life to the Lord. I was probably like 6 or 7 when I made a conscious decision, like I want to go up there and.
So you felt God,
at
one time,
I don't think I had an experience.
Okay,
but I think again I was just doing what everybody else was doing.
Got it,
right? Because we were young. We were, when Praise Chapel Almani was in a storefront, and I was like, well, I want to go up there like them,
right?
And I did, but then throughout my life, I don't think I ever really thought about God or where He was,
or any sort of conscience.
No,
like this is bad.
Nah.
Did you think like?
Oh yeah, I thought it was bad.
But I'm gonna do it anyways. Did you? I always think I think the thing that always got me was my dad would always tell me like, there's consequences for everything you do.
Yeah.
Think about the consequences. I'm just telling you that. So I would hear that voice in the back of my head all the time, like, oh man, there's consequences. Yeah. Did you think about the consequences, or do you just kind of whatever?
Whatever. I had no concept of consequences. Just whatever. Let's go.
Where do you think they came from?
I don't know. I think just not caring and being a kid who didn't know who he was. And trying to please everyone around him. So it didn't matter.
So whoever you're with, that's what you wanted to please.
Yeah.
That's a trip to me, because I think I had Bobby Amezcua here a couple episodes ago, and he said the same thing. I was like, Bobby, you always seemed like a smart dude to me when we were young. And he goes, I was smart. I got all A's in private school. And I'm like, dang. And I go, how are you gangbanging then at night? He goes, I was like a transformer. He goes, I would, whoever I was with, if I was with the athletes, I would transform into an athlete, and I was a good athlete. At night, when we were gangbanging, I would turn into a gangster. He goes, and then school, I would be a school guy. So if I was around certain people, I would just transform. I think that's what you're kind of saying right here. Like wherever I was around, I try to fit in somehow.
Yeah, no matter who it was or what. A lot of people say, "Oh, Chris was like a politician," because everybody I was around, I could fit in or try to maneuver. No matter if you were an old head, a young head, a gangster, tagger, whatever, a dancer. I kind of just fit in everywhere.
That's a trip, man.
Yeah,
I think that's a skill in itself. That probably now you're probably like, cool, I can connect with a lot of people at church,
right,
at work, in the street. I know where they're coming from. I can get down to the level. I think sometimes it can be used for negative stuff, but I think a lot of times as we get older, that's a good characteristic that we have in our life, where you can I can fit in where,
right.
Paul, says, becoming all things to all men that I might win some.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think it becomes a good attribute to somebody's life.
Yeah. And then I came back home. I was at my uncle's. I came back home and was running the streets, and I was on a little not a dirt bike. Remember the little YZF 50s that everybody rode in the 80s, 80s and 90s? I had one of those. We stole it, and I was riding it up and down the street, and the cops were called on me. And we were in the front yard, and it was parked right there. And my mom and dad pull up while they're arresting me. And my mom says, "That's my son. He can come with us." So they were like, "It's your lucky day." And that's when my mom told me, "Hey, somebody wants to meet you." And I was like, "Who?" And they were like, "Pastor Joey Chavez at Jacob's Ladder." And
which was a men's home.
Yes.
And how old were you at this time?
It was 96.
So you're what?
So I was 17, probably 18.
Once again, going to a men's home with with hardened guys.
Yes. And so I went, met with him, sat there, talked with Pastor David Barbosa and Joey Chavez, and sat there and had a conversation and said, "Well, I got to go home and collect some money." And they were like, "If you leave, you'll probably never come back." I was like, "No, I'll be back." So they're like, "All right, whatever." So I left, and the money didn't turn out the way it should have. I got burned. And so I said, "All right, this is what you guys want, Mom, Dad, I'll go." And I ended up at Jacob's Ladder.
Probably the youngest guy to ever be at that men's home.
Nah, there were younger guys after me. Yeah. But I was there for a little over a year.
Were you at the one in Whittier?
Yeah, the
old house.
Yeah.
I went with my dad. He would old school story here. So my dad liked boxing. All the dudes in Jacob Ladder liked boxing, but they didn't have no TVs over there, right? So my dad records the fights, and he records the fights, grabs our big TV, tells me to carry it. We take the VCR. We take the TV down there. We show these guys the fights. They're all excited in there. I was like, "What is this, man?" I didn't even know what it was. He's like, "It's Jacob's Ladder. It's a men's home. They help the men here, man. 2-story, old house, all these rooms." I'm like, "All right, cool." So it was cool, man, because my dad was doing them a favor a little bit, helping them out. But yeah, so that you were there.
Yeah, I used to go there when I was young to help my uncle do electrical there. So it was like.
Full circle. Now I'm in here.
Now I'm in here.
Did it help?
I would say yes. That was a key kind of turning point in my life, and that's when I was really trying, I think, at that time to just get it together.
Because it was already like 3 or 4 years of just wilding out.
Just chaos. Yeah. And then I went there, and Pastor Joey took me under his wing. He kind of just loved on me, and wherever he went, he kind of took me. And a lot of pastors that I run into this day will say, "Oh, that's Chris. You were Joey Chavez's little sidekick." And I'm like, well, I guess I was. Yeah, I was. And so that was the start of that, trying to get my GED there.
How long did you stay in there?
I was there a year, from 96 to 97. And I left. I'm going to school. I'm going to Federally in East LA. But it was like they had another campus by Montebello High School. And I was going there, and I'm walking home, and my dad's truck's in front of parked in the street. And so I get there, and he's in the office with Pastor David Barbosa. And he calls me in, I sit down. And that's when my dad tells me he had cancer. And he was like, "I have cancer." And I was like, "All right." And he was like, "Go pack your stuff."
It was bad?
At that point, it wasn't. We didn't know. And he was like, "Go get your stuff. You're coming home." And I was like, "Okay." So I packed my stuff and I went home. And, I was sober. I was doing good at the time. I had a job. I was working at like the Montclair Plaza when the Warner Brothers store was there.
Oh, yeah.
I was working there and just started as like a seasonal job during Christmas, and they kept me. And so I was just there working, and then, I was just working, and my dad was sick. He had breast cancer, one of the rare things in a man to have, breast cancer. And then,
wow. I remember he got sick. I know it's cancer, but I didn't know what type. But
yeah. And so I didn't have no future at that time. I'm not going to you're not gonna get a future working at the mall unless you're management or something like that. So I wasn't. I was just the runt working.
Were you having a hard time processing? Now I decided to live right, and then my dad ends up being sick. Did you put any blame, or were you just this is just what it is?
I didn't put any blame till he passed. Because everybody's praying.
So you're thinking like,
I'm thinking
we're good.
We're good. You know, I was attending church. I wasn't serving. I was attending church and working, and then I was at work. I come home from work, and my mom and dad are having dinner with 2 Navy recruiters, and I'm like, what's going on?
Was your dad in the military?
My dad was in the Army.
Okay.
Right? And so
it wasn't your idea?
Not even close. Not even a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Not even a little bit. And so they're having dinner, and my dad looks up and he says, why don't you go to the Navy? And I was like, at that point, my dad was sick. Like, I would have done anything, you know. Let's do it. All right. And so I couldn't get a good enough score on the ASVAB. I needed because I didn't have a G. I think, did I have a GED? Yeah, I did get a GED. And I needed a 52 or higher to go. And I kept scoring like a 49,
a 52,
a 50, a 51. And they were like, man, you got to wait 6 months to take the test. Oh. And I was like, all right, because I'd already taken it twice and not getting enough score. So after everything, the Navy recruiters are like, don't trip. Don't trip. And I was like, huh? They're like, look, you're leaving for boot camp. I was like, but I can't score. They're like, don't trip. They were like, when you get to boot camp, they're going to ask you where your diploma is. And you tell them that you gave it to me. And when they call, I'll say, yeah, I forgot to send it. And they're not going to ask no more questions. And I was like, what? So they did a whole thing that I was homeschooled. They did a whole thing that I was homeschooled. I had a diploma, and they sent me.
Oh, they wanted you back.
I think they just wanted to give me, because my parents were pushing the issue.
Yeah.
You know, like, get them out of here.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't doing bad at the time, but I probably could have been doing a lot better.
Yeah. You didn't have no future.
No
future.
There
was nothing mapped out.
Yeah.
School wasn't your thing.
No.
So are you liking the military when you get there? Are you like, oh, this is cool?
Boot camp was cool. I could run. I could do push-ups. You know, all that was cool. I had a thing where growing up where, like, if I don't know, I'm not asking. You know what I mean?
You would just play it off?
Like, if like, let's say my freshman year at Chafee High School, I didn't know where the math building was, so I just didn't go. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't ask.
I was not asking nobody. So in the military, you know, if I didn't know something, I just didn't ask. So it wasn't like I wasn't like doing stuff to progress. I was just sitting around.
You didn't have no ambition.
No ambition.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to do. So I didn't ask. I just kind of went with the flow of what was going on.
Right.
So I graduate boot camp. I go to Meridian, Mississippi for 2 months for my A school because I was a store clerk. Basically, Pep Boys for airplane parts on an aircraft carrier. Okay. And then 2 months there, I come home for like 2 weeks. I'm in my Navy uniform. I go to Almani Church, show off.
Feeling good?
Feeling real good. Like yeah, finally, right?
Yeah, I made something of myself.
I made something. And then I go meet my ship in Bahrain in the middle of the Persian Gulf.
Okay.
And it was just like a 12 on, 12 off job. You know, go get parts. Guys would come. Hey, we need this part. That's all it was.
Just doing your thing.
Just doing my thing. 12 on, 12 off. But I was still getting picked on.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of your appearance?
I think so. I think so. But at this time, I had already picked up I'm from LA. You know, I'm a LA kid, so, and I was really into like the homie culture.
So you knew the game?
I knew the game.
Okay.
A little.
Yeah.
I was more thought that I knew the game. So like, if you were to like see where I slept and stuff, you would think, oh, this dude's a homie. But then when you see me, you're like, he's not a homie. and it was just like that. And
So they were testing.
Yeah. Oh man, I got socked. Once I was scrubbing tables and this dude was, going back and forth with me, clowning, and I said something to him and he punched me, blindsided me, boom. And I was like, cool, in front of everybody. Cool, I'm not going to do nothing, and we're going to see what happens. After all these years of people saying, look, just if someone hits you, just it'll get handled, blah, blah, blah. And I go to XO Mass, which is
What's that?
like principal's office.
Okay.
Right? Go to XO Mass, and the XO says, well, you provoked him. And I'm like, wait a minute. I got punched in the face, and while you guys were going back and forth, you provoked him. You provoked him and he hit you. And I was like, got it. And from that point on, it was...
Did you feel like that was a license for you to...
Oh, that was it. Like, nobody's getting away with nothing.
Right.
Yeah. And nobody got away with nothing from that point on.
So everything was on.
Everything was on. If you sideways, we're having problems. And it was because I thought justice was going to, like, finally, after all these years, someone hit me and I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing this time.
I did the right thing.
I did the right thing. And then you provoked him, though. What? What is provoking? Like, that don't work out here.
Right. We were bagging on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And then
Did you get in a lot of fights after that?
just one major one. Just one. The turning point, the life changer.
Did that one? We'll get into that. How much led up to that fight though?
Honestly,
was it like
my
constant?
dad was sick. My dad was sick. I was across the world, and I think it played in my head a little. Like,
Right.
man, I was just angry at that time.
Sure.
And I drank a lot. I was at that time drinking a lot.
It's a military thing, right?
I did more than the military guys, because, like, let's say the boat came back to San Diego, and I'm leaving by myself and, like, getting 240s and going to the park by myself.
Oh, so you were...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just miserable. I didn't like it because I was away from my family. But at the same time, when I think about it now, like, I was away from my family either way. And, you know,
that makes sense.
yeah. So I don't,
Even when you were there, you weren't there.
right. And I was just, if I think back now, I think because my dad, like,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
You probably didn't think it affected you as much as it did back then, but now looking back, you realize, like, yeah, I was kind of jacked up. I was thinking about. I mean, it by all purposes, yeah, you should have been, thinking about that and had that on your mind.
Yeah. I think if I would have thought about it more, like, in a different way, it probably could have saved me. Like, man, I better do right because my dad.
Right.
Instead, I was cracking because my dad.
Yeah, it provoked you to the anger side.
Yeah.
Instead of the...
Yeah.
So you get into it while you're in the military.
Yeah.
I remember this kind of.
Yeah.
Right? What happened?
I had a guy that used to cut my hair while we were on the boat. And he was like, hey, we're going to go drinking at these barracks. And I was like, cool. So we get off of work. We go to the barracks. I think we bought a case of beer or whatever. We go to the barracks for drinking. And I'm pretty drunk. We're kicking it with these like Hawaiian dudes, 2 Hawaiian dudes that were in the Navy as well. And they were playing the ukulele and singing, and I'm taking shots of Crown Royal and drinking beer. But I'm still, at this moment right here, I'm still happy and chilling. So I go outside. We're on the 4th floor of these, like, it's almost like a big hotel, but it's barracks. And there's a room, caddy corner, and there's no curtains, no screen, just a window, and there's 2 guys in there playing PlayStation 1. They're just playing games. I think they're playing like Ridge Racer or something. So I go to the window like, what's up, fellas? And they're like, what's up, man? I'm like, man, just chilling. You guys want something to drink, blah, blah, blah. They're like, nah, we're good. I'm like, all right, see you later. Bam, go back. Kicking it, whatever. Go back to that room again, to the window. Now there's 3 guys. There was 2, now there's 3. I'm like, what's up, fellas? And the other dude just goes off. Man, get the hell away from my window. Whoa, 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 whoa.
What was his trip?
I don't know. Maybe because I was a little tipsy, but he just didn't want me at the window. And I was like, man, come out here and tell me that.
Totally unnecessary.
Yeah,
you're in his window.
Yeah, I'm in his window. And I'm like, come out here and tell me that. And he's like, what? And I'm like, dang. He stands up. I'm like, oh, man, I bit off more than I could chew.
Big dude.
Oh, he's a rescue swimmer. Yeah. So he was probably...
What? Did you ever run into that issue before? Because you had a mouth on you.
Yeah.
And I would assume it probably got you in trouble a few times before.
Yeah.
But usually, it only takes one time. Was this that one time? Or did you have prior to that? Because sometimes you run into an issue where you're like, dang, I shouldn't have said that. And it's too late.
Nah, I think what saved me a lot of times is that there was a few guys with me.
Okay.
So we get it going, and then they break it up real quick.
You get it going.
Yeah. And then they would be like, wait.
You would get it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
You would get it going, and they'd be like, all right, fellas, you finish it. I'm out.
It would happen like that, yeah.
Okay.
I was the mouth, yeah.
So this dude
stood up.
He takes you up on your offer.
Oh, yeah, he comes outside. Well, I'm drunk, so I'm yelling. I'm getting super loud. He comes out. The other two guys come to the door. And I turn around. I have a little pocket knife, like a Swiss Army knife. So I open it, put it back in my pocket, and turn around like, what's cracking? What's up? And he swings. And I had the knife in my hand and stabbed him 5 times.
When he swung, did he hit you?
No, I ducked. And
you pulled out the knife.
And I pulled out the knife. And before he could swing again, he was already poked 5 times.
And what were you in some sort of right mindset, or were you just loaded?
I was loaded, but if I think back, I knew what I was doing. Yeah, I knew what I was doing. And then
was everybody like freaking out? Because I mean,
nobody knew at first. It was so quick. And then the knife collapsed on my hand. And so I pulled it off and put it away. And then he starts leaking. And one of the guys is like, hey, dude, you're bleeding. But he's still trying to, like, get
the adrenaline's pumped.
Yeah. And so the dude that brought me there got in between us. He looked at me and he goes, you better leave. Like, go. And grabs him like, yo, take care of yourself. And so I book it. I take off.
Dang.
I take off.
Where do you take off to?
I'm on a military base.
Yeah.
It's not like, I think I tried to call the girl I was with at the time, like, hey, come get me. And she was in Inglewood, like, I'm not coming to get you. You're in San Diego. And I was like, I tried to do the whole, I just miss you. And she was like, nah. And so I just went back to the boat. I went back to the boat. I don't even know how I got on the boat because you have to show your ID to get on the boat. And when I see my ID later, you couldn't even see my picture. It's just covered in blood, And I cleaned up and went to sleep. And I was woken up by NCIS. They woke me up. Yeah.
What is that?
Navy Criminal Investigation. The cops. They woke me up. And it's not like I was...
The Navy's version of MPs?
Yeah. Well, these are bigger than MPs. These are investigators. These are like detectives. Yeah. So they wake me up and they like, hey, get dressed. Where's your clothes?
What was the knife?
I buried it. Yeah. So they wake me up.
I thought you were saying you threw it in the ocean.
Nah. But at this time in my brain, I'm thinking I might have some self-defense here. He swung on me, right?
So you're thinking,
yeah, like okay, I'll be all right.
Big dude,
yeah.
He came outside.
Right.
I was scared for my life.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I thought at the time.
Okay.
So they take me. They do like a.
So are you nervous yet?
Oh man, I'm sure. I'm crying because they're like, pack your stuff, get all your stuff, and I'm crying. I'm like, what's gonna happen? So they do the whole. I'm in a little interrogation room. They're questioning me about this, that, and the other. How come your name's the only name on the check-in list that didn't sign out that night? And I told them, hey, I got into a fight. This would happen. They're like, where's the knife? So not dumb me, but I was thinking that I still had this little self-defense thing. So I said, I buried it. Well, take us to it. All right, come on. So I gave him the knife. And then they were like, there's no, you get it busted in the Navy, there's no bail. There's no.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
you're going straight to the brig.
What did they tell you? What happened to the guy?
No,
Did you know
not at that-
his condition or anything like that?
I didn't know nothing at that point.
You didn't ask.
I didn't ask.
I would be worried.
I was.
I would be like,
I was shook.
Did this guy die?
I was shook.
What happened?
I was shook at the time, and they took me to Miramar, a Miramar Naval Brig.
Yeah.
And I was there. They have like a detainee side, and then after court, you go to the other side. So I was in the detainee side, and my lawyer came, and he was like, look, I think we got a good self-defense thing. You know, you're a little dude. I was a big old dude.
Is it a Navy lawyer or an outside lawyer?
Navy lawyer.
Okay.
Navy lawyer. And so I'm like, cool. He goes, look, I just need you to stay clean while you're in here. Don't get in no trouble. Don't do nothing. Because if you do something, I can't argue your character. And I was like, all right, cool. It didn't work that way. And you know, I was with a girl at the time. She came to visit me. It wasn't a good visit. And some dude was messing with me that day. And we were working in the kitchen.
And you couldn't keep it cool for
Nah, I was hot. I was hot. And there were some dudes in there that were from LA that were in the Navy that I was still trying to impress.
Okay.
Right? So this dude got crazy or whatever. And so we got into it. And we got into a fight. And he was all black and blue. Bam, they come get me, take me to the hole, take him.
So now without even a trial or anything, they're like, this dude's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, two fights, stabbed this dude.
Yeah. So then my lawyer comes to see me and he goes, I can't even argue your character anymore. And then he tells me the dude caught a blood infection while he was in the hospital and he could die. Oh. And he tells me if he dies, you're going to be the first capital case since like Vietnam or some weird number like that. Like you're going to be you're going to be
in the military,
a capital case in the military.
I would assume probably the only other one was somebody killing somebody in the field.
Yeah.
Right? On purpose.
Right.
Gee.
And so at that point I was like, man, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And so I go to court. Everything, happens. I have a jury trial. Everything.
Father's still sick?
My dad's super sick now. My dad can't even recognize me. Oof. So he's coming to visit me in a wheelchair. And we're in because I couldn't have visits. I had to be handcuffed. I couldn't have a visit where we're all out in the open. So I'm in a little private room handcuffed and my dad's in a wheelchair. And I'm sitting right in front of him and he looks at my mom and he goes, well, where's my son? Oh. And I was like, man, I'm right here, Dad. And he was like, you're not my son. And I was like,
And even just to travel from up here to down to San Diego.
And he would, there were times where he would open the door, on the freeway. They would have to, grab the door. He was on at this point, I think the cancer spread to his brain. And so they had him on a lot of morphine. Mm. And I guess the morphine was triggering some, hallucinations and other things inside of him. And that, at that point, I was broken. Man,
Did you think you messed up at that point, or were you kind of like, well, screw everything then? Was there some remorse? Like, man, I messed up.
There was a lot of remorse. I was like, man,
because sometimes people go totally opposite.
I was like, dang,
screw everything.
Man, I really did it this time. There's no turning back now. I'm just going to ride this out and see what happens, see where my life goes now. But, you really did it, Chris. And so.
How old are you?
21. Yeah. It's 2000.
Yeah.
It's 2000. January 19th, 2000 is when it all happened. Or 18. And so I'm 21 years old. And they tried to get me for murder, for attempted murder. He didn't die. Tried to get me for attempted murder. They found me guilty of a lesser charge, which was assault with grievous bodily harm. And then they maxed me out. Maxed me out 5.5 years.
So dude lived.
Dude lived.
Was his military career over?
I have no idea.
No?
I don't know. Yeah. But there was all kinds of like crazy stuff that happened during the trial. Like they tried to, because of my bunk area, you know, they tried to say I was affiliated with gangs and he's just a gangster kid from, you know,
So
Ontario.
now you're saying like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
They told me they told me, what does it mean? This is how we do it in East LA, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. And to this day, I always think like, dang, did I say that because I was drunk? Like, did I just yell out some stupid stuff? I don't remember that. I don't ever remember saying like anything like that. But they tried to make it like I was some trained dude. Like the way he got stabbed, there was no way he just stabbed them. They were like, he had to have training with a knife, and it was just way out stuff. And so, and don't forget, in the Navy, you can get provoking speeches and gestures. So, like, if you flip me off, you can go to the jail in the military.
Really?
Yeah. So, because they say I flipped them off, they added 6 months. And so it's 5 years, and the provoking speeches and gestures added another 6 months.
Did you have relief when it was just 5 years, or were you just like, man, this is?
I mean,
because you stabbed somebody out
Yeah.
here, it's attempted murder. You're looking at some time.
Yeah.
5 years seems like to me like it's a long time, but it seems like a deal for stabbing a dude 5
At
times.
21 years old, I thought it was like, that's it.
Yeah, I guess that
that's
makes
it.
sense. That's like
Yeah.
that's like a 25% of your life already.
Like, I'm gone. That's it. You know, the girl I was with at the time was at court. She almost passed out when they said it. You know, some other mutual friends that we have used to come to my court cases. You know, Lawrence and them used to come to my court cases and stuff. And so, you know, and then it was, so now I move from the detainee side to the prisoner side,
the brig.
the brig. Now I'm in the brig.
What's the brig like?
Man, like 7-Eleven every day.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you go to meal 3 times a day, and there's soda machines in the kitchen. There's, on Sundays, it's omelets to order. It was not like prison.
What are the other guys in there for?
Man.
Like what else do you have in there? What
More than 50% are for weird stuff. Yeah. There was a lot of weirdos in the Navy. That was trippy to me.
Yeah, I
Military period.
yeah.
There was a lot of dudes with underage girls. There's so many weird things that you can go that you wouldn't think. Yeah.
So you're in there for 5 years.
5 years and a month.
Are you doing anything? Are you just trying to better yourself? You trying to?
So
What are you up
when
to?
when I first get there, I start hanging out with some Christian people, and I'm just really wanting to serve God. At least I think I do at that time. I think I want to serve God. So they had a little church group worship band, and they were like, we need a drummer. And I was like, well, I know how to keep a beat. I'm not no fancy drummer, but I can keep a beat. That's all we need. Come on. So bam, I went and started playing drums for this little worship team at the brig, and then joined the choir. So I was singing and joined the choir. They made a little VHS tape to send home to all of our parents. And
were you committed though?
no,
Are you just doing it to
I was
pass
just
the
doing
time?
it. I was just doing it.
Trying
I
to
was
fit in
just
somewhere.
Trying to fit in again, you know. There was no commitment. There was no, it was just, you know, there was no commitment and there was no accountability. It was just me going. It was just me going
Something to do.
being a part of something. Yeah. And then and then my dad died.
How long were you in when your dad passed?
I was busted. I already got convicted, and I was probably there 6 months. 6 months, and they come. So they wanted to transfer me to Charleston, South Carolina, and I told them, hey, my dad, super sick. They were like, all right, we're not going to transfer you. Bam. He passed away June 12th of 2000. Bam. Passed away within a month. I'm gone. They transferred me.
Over there.
Yeah. So they
Did you get to go to the funeral?
I got to, they made me choose. You can go to the service, which was at my uncle's church in Almani, or you can go to the burial, which was at my mom's house, because they just put his ashes in the backyard. And I was like, I'll go to the house. So, bam, I'm in my uniform. I'm handcuffed. 2 guards escort me to my mom's house.
Do they still consider you a naval guy?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still collecting a paycheck at this. No, I didn't. But every month you get like $51 for your hygiene and stuff like that. You're still getting stuff. You still have all your benefits until you're done with your sentence.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you go to your dad's funeral at your mom's house.
Go to my dad's funeral.
A little surreal?
Way surreal. Plus I'm busted. I'm in handcuffs. And I go and I'm in a Navy uniform.
But you're handcuffed.
And I'm handcuffed. And
They got somebody with you?
2 guards. Armed guards. My mom comes out, hugs me, tells the guards, can you please take the handcuffs off and let them put on some regular clothes? Just, they look at me and they're like, you gonna run? I was like, anywhere else I would, but not at my dad's funeral. They're like, all right. So they uncuffed me, and my mom did what my mom does best and was like, you guys hungry? And kept them fed.
Yeah.
While I just kind of was able to be with my family.
Right.
And so I was able to put on some regular clothes, and I was able to speak at my dad's. I had his ashes in my hand, and I placed the ashes, and they had a little stone that they put in the backyard, and I was able to be there for that. And then it was over, said my goodbyes, and it was back to the uniform,
Back to
put
reality.
handcuffs on, and back to, yeah.
What did your dad mean to you, man? Did you realize it at that time? Now you're a father, it's different.
Yeah.
But at that time, did it settle in? Did you really realize, like, man, I screwed that up?
Man, my dad was the best. Like, and I look back at so many things that I took for granted. My family, my pops, all that. And my dad was. I think if I could put it in word, my dad was my everything back then. Wow. I was too jacked up to realize that, man, this dude would have done anything for me, And I just was so caught up in me that I'd really just, like, man, this dude, he'll go to the ends of the earth for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Phil told me something, man, that I was tripping out on. He said, we were talking about the podcast. I was like, yeah, I got Chris coming in, man. He's like, yeah, he told me. And I was like, yeah, and he's like, you know what? The crazy thing about Chris is this, man. Like, during that time that he was messed up, we were young, there's no pictures of him. There's like a cutoff date. He's like, there's like a day when like 14 to like 20 something, like our youth right there, like, there's family pictures and there's none with Chris. Like, because he was in the brig or he was in the streets.
Yeah.
And he's like, he was literally like sad about that. He's like, we were close and he was just like gone for that period. And it's a trip when you think about that. Like, you don't think about the time.
Yeah.
Till you look back on time, right? And be like, and you think like, oh, I got all the time.
Right.
And then you realize, like, especially, like, I bring that up because, like, especially with your dad's death, you don't really reflect until like you hit a point
right.
of, a death or a major thing in your life, and then you're like, wow, like, I wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, I did. And that's funny because my daughters go to my sister's house, and my sister has pictures all over her wall. And my daughter asked, hey, how come there's no pictures of my dad? And at that time, my sister was kind of upset. And she was like, because I don't like your dad. But the reality is that I wasn't around. From literally my sophomore year till I came back from Jacob's Ladder and joined the Navy, there's no pictures. From like 15, 16 to maybe like 20 years old. There's no pictures.
And then you get busted.
Yeah. Then I get busted, and then I go from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm there. I get busted inside there, right? They send me to Norfolk, Virginia to finish out my time. I finish out my time there, and then I come home. This is 2000, like the end of 2004.
Yeah, I remember when you came home.
Okay.
Because you came, I was in a band.
Yeah.
Your cousin. You came to our show.
Yeah.
And you had just gotten out.
Yeah.
So, you were same Chris, a little different, right? Feels like, man, yeah, he did some crazy stuff in the military. He was in the brig, and I'm just thinking like, dang, this guy's crazy. And then you were gone again.
Yeah.
I wanted to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Elevate Ministries. Elevate Ministries is an authentic, passionate, and innovative church in the heart of Orange County, California. They strive to make their services welcoming and encouraging by intentionally engaging you in all senses to stimulate a spiritual hunger. If you're looking for a great church that's on a mission to change the world one person at a time, I encourage you to check them out at www.elevateministries.com and on Instagram at Elevate Ministries. Where'd you go?
So I came home. I was doing good for a little while, doing good. And then my nephew was kind of taking a wrong turn. He was, doing some things, and my sister was like, go help him. And, the Bible talks about be careful or you will be tempted. And I wasn't ready to help him. So
you were still needing help.
I still needed help. And she sent me, she asked me like, go help him. I don't think she meant like, go jump in the boat with him. And so I jumped in the boat with him.
Polo?
Yeah, Polo. My nephew Polo, I jumped in the boat with him, and we started paddling together. And it was just literally like, if you're sober for a while and you go back, you go straight back to where you were. And that's what happened.
How easy was it?
Oh, it was like putting on an old pair of Vans that fit just comfortably, And it was back to what I know.
Did it take you long?
A matter of days.
Days.
I'm already stealing cars.
Were you cleaning the brig?
Yeah.
So you're clean for over 5 years?
Yeah. And then I come home, and I came home February 15th, if I'm not mistaken, right? February. April, I'm already busted.
For drugs?
No, for stealing cars.
To get drugs? Or
Yeah.
to
Just to
turn over and
Yeah,
get money for
yeah.
drugs?
Yeah, me and my nephew got busted together in Monterey Park.
So you get busted, you're back on drugs. What are you on?
Meth.
Just
Yeah.
like that?
Like that.
That's crazy to me, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy how fast. I think like the normal person that's never been on drugs, such as myself, doesn't realize how easy, or even like your mother or your family that have seen you go, like they realize how easy it is for you to go back.
Yeah.
Or for a drug addict to go back to that really fast.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like, well, you were clean for like 5 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And it instantly, it caught up to you.
Yeah. Within a matter of, just that February to April, we're busted. We're in county jail, LA County. First time in LA County jail.
Okay, so this is LA County jail, even at that time, is not a nice place.
No.
Right?
No.
It's one of the,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah. But when I look back, it's crazy. It's crazy when I think of how God had his hand through everything.
Still. Undeservedly, right?
Still had his hand upon my life. Yeah. Because I get to LA County jail, right? And I'm in a cell with two nuclear size brothers talking,
It's over for you.
Yeah.
If they wanted it to be.
Yeah, yeah. And one of them goes, you know how to play chess? I was like, yeah. He's like, you're all right then. Come on. We play chess. Right?
Unheard of.
Unheard of. And then I get a call. Mora, roll it up. And they send me to the trustee dorms. And
What was that based on, though?
I don't know.
God.
I have no idea. God.
favor.
Yes. So I went to trustee dorm, and I was part of the sandwich crew. We made all the lunches. Bagged up sandwiches all day at night. And that was, then I probably did like 4 months. And then they called me and were like, hey, you want to finish your time on house arrest? I was like, nope. Because at that time, I don't know if it's still the same, but at that time you had to pay for house arrest. And I was like, no. They're like, all right. Like 3 days later, I got released. Yeah.
And what did you go back to?
I got released. Man, and I think I was married at the time.
Got married?
I was married at the time.
Who married you?
Melissa. I was married to Melissa.
I didn't mean to put out the name,
Yeah.
but what I meant was like,
Yeah.
what woman would marry you, man?
Yeah.
What did you have going for you at the
Nothing.
time?
Not a thing. Not a thing.
I forgot about Melissa.
Yeah.
Now I remember.
Yeah. And
I forgot about that. I
Yeah.
didn't mean for you to give him a name,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking in my head, why would somebody marry you, man?
Yeah.
Are you spitting game to Melissa? What are you doing?
Nah.
Shouldn't throw
We
her
started
name out there. My
yeah,
bad.
my bad. Well, we started talking when I was busted.
Okay.
When I was in the brig.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then
Very nice lady.
yeah. And then I just went back to that, and then man,
Are you wanting to live right? Are you
I
still
think I
doing
was
drugs?
I think I started doing good after that. I think I did for a little while.
I remember you were around.
I
were
was
around.
I was helping. This is when my cousin was doing his thing,
Okay.
ministry wise.
Yeah.
And I was helping him.
Whatever way you could.
Yeah.
So
I was helping
Phil's
with him.
doing his thing,
Right.
youth pastor
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're
and,
helping
and
him
I'm
out.
helping him. You know.
I remember we were in the band. You would
Yeah.
come sometimes, show up, help out, whatever.
Yeah. And then I was just doing my, pretending.
Were you
again.
pretending?
Yeah, I was pretending. If I
Trying
look
to
back,
fit in.
Trying to fit in. Just trying to, there was no accountability. There was no commitment. I was just there helping.
Yeah.
And so, and then,
Starts going south
it
again.
starts going south again because excuse me, I leave Melissa at the time, and things go south real quick, and I just go head first into drugs and everything again, and then
Was there a reason why you think, looking back now, why you did drugs? We always hear stories about people and they have a reason why they did drugs, right? A party, some hurt, some pain, whatever it was. Do you identify that, or is just
I don't think there was any pain, and I don't think there was any. I just think I naturally had a good time on drugs.
just like to get high?
Just loved to get high at the time. Had a blast on drugs. It wasn't, but I mean, there was some dope fiend issues, of course,
Were you bad?
I was bad. Yeah.
Stealing from
Oh, I was,
everybody.
hide your purse, mom. Yeah. Chris is home, hide everything. Yeah. I was bad.
It's probably a little bit different when your dad was around and there was at least a man in the house to kind of put you on check. But once your dad was gone, it's just your mom.
Yeah. It was, so I get home from the brig. My mom's already remarried. Yeah.
So that must have been a trip too.
That was a trip. Total trip. And at this point, I was mad.
At your mom?
Yeah.
Like, that was too fast.
Too fast. Way too fast. But I might have wrote a letter home expressing myself that my mom says she never got. I'm glad you never got it, Mom. But I was like,
So there was some hurt there.
yeah, there was some hurt. Definitely some hurt,
Are you caring about anything in life after you leave this woman? You go on. No purpose other than to get high. You're not looking for tomorrow or the next day or
No.
next week. It's just
No.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get wrapped up in other stuff?
Not at that point. Not at that point. At that point, I'm just getting high, running amok. And then I had a job. I was delivering upholstery for a company in South Almani. And I was using the company vehicle to steal. I was hitting garages.
And just loading up?
And just loading up whatever was in the garages.
Company logo on the side?
No company logo.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was in a garage. The dude chased me, Huntington Beach, chased me through the streets. I get pulled out by gunpoint and over a backpack. I end up going back to prison for a backpack.
Now, when you go back to prison, do they take does your brig time come up?
That's funny.
At all?
They ask, like, hey, we see, my lawyer tells me, we see you caught a case and did time in the military. So they were like, look, the DA is going to email the brig. They're going to email the military. If you have a case that's strikeable, they're going to strike you. Oh. All right, give me the deal. Whatever they want to give me, hurry up. Let's go. Sign the deal that day.
Because you would have had 2 strikes.
I would have had one.
One?
So I said, well, whatever they want to give me, let's go. And at that time, they gave me a year. But because they didn't give me a strike, they gave me halftime because it was just stealing. So I end up going upstate. I go to Corcoran, and I do 8 months.
So now you're in. You went from like Club Fed, to the LA County, which is pretty rough, but you had it good because you were a trustee.
Yeah.
To real prison, no joke.
Yeah.
So how are you adapting now?
Okay.
Where are you getting in where you fit in over here?
I don't look like everybody else. I'm not tatted up. I don't look like a homie. I don't talk like a homie. But I can, when the older dudes get around and that's the only way they talk, I can relate. I can talk that talk. And so, I as clear as day, I remember I'm at the basketball court. They're playing full court. All homies. And I'm on the sideline, and some dude was like, you want to run? I was like, yeah. So he yells out, yo, me and the nerd got next.
Oh.
Right? And I'm like, cool. I'm not tripping. I start laughing. I had glasses, still skinny. And bam. From that day forward, hey, Chris, you coming to play ball? You coming to play ball? At that time, they you get a nickname. So I was Conejo, the little rabbit. Hey, Conejo, you coming to play ball? Yeah, I'll be right out. Everybody wanted to play ball. Like, let's go. And that was my way in.
Right.
I could hoop. I wasn't great, but you
got picked up.
Yeah. And I could sling the handball. And so that was the sports aspect. I was in,
So that's how you made your connections.
That's how I made my connections. It was either on the handball court or the basketball court.
Which still, some favor there, right?
Yes.
Some godly favor that you just happened to fall in that little realm, because that doesn't happen for a lot of dudes.
No. And then I tried to stay. If I wasn't on the basketball court and I wasn't on the handball court, I was with the older dudes. The older dudes that were trying to tell me, hey, slow down, chill out. You don't got to do that. You don't got to be over there. Do your time, mind your business, keep your nose clean. And that's what I did.
How difficult is it in prison to keep your nose clean?
And that yard, it wasn't hard. There was nothing happening there that was like crazy.
Mind your business.
Yeah, things weren't going crazy there. And so I did 8 months, and I come home. I'm on parole.
Are you thinking now, are you finally thinking like, all right, this is enough?
I don't know. I don't know if I was thinking that. I know I didn't want to go back, And so I'm busted. There's a dude in there. He's like, yo, when you get out, I need you to call this girl. And when you call her, tell her to send me a package. I'm like, whatever, dog. I got you. Whatever. I get home. I call her. It's Christina. Right? My wife now. And I call her and like, hey, what's his name told me to call you? I went up on the phone for like 3 hours just talking. Well, I leave a message. Sorry. I leave a message. She calls me back. Right? We end up on the phone for like 3 hours. And she was like, you don't sound like a homie. And that's what made me, like, when you're on the phone, there's no way you could be in prison. Because it wasn't like, what's up, little girl? What's up, mommy? Or, sorry, scared. None of that, I talk like I talk now.
Hey, fool.
Yeah. And so we ended up talking. And we ended up together. Together and my second marriage.
So you marry her.
We'll marry her.
Very nice lady, by the way.
Yeah, marry her. Only last 8 months.
Why?
So I was married.
Once again, why would somebody marry you, Chris?
Man. At this
You're
point,
funny.
At this point, I had a little size. You know what I mean? I had a little size. My green eyes were real bright. The sun shined on me real.
You got some Ray-Bans?
Yeah.
You had that yard walk?
Yeah. The one leg dragged behind the other.
Okay.
And so we get married. We have a baby. We have my daughter Alexis. And within, a few months, she's pregnant again. And I had no concept of commitment. I have no concept of marriage or how sacred it is at the time or anything like that. So Chris, at that age, at that time, still had a lot of growing up to do. And I ended up meeting another girl and bouncing.
Wow.
And bouncing, yeah.
So you leave your wife.
Yeah.
With 2 kids?
2 babies.
2 babies. And you're just out.
I'm gone.
Why? Looking back, do you know why?
Because I was a dirtbag. Just a straight dirtbag. Like I said, no concept of anything about commitment or anything about, like, you just got married, you better tough it out, man up. None of that. It was like, I'm gone. I thought the grass was greener on the other side. And then I get there and it's AstroTurf. You know what I mean? And so now I'm back in San Bernardino. I'm sober. I've been sober 4 or 5 years probably at this time.
Wow.
Sober, working for Lawrence, doing good. And unbeknownst to me, it was a cold setup. The girl I was with at the time, I didn't know this, but her whole family, all her brothers, their uncles, all tweakers, all big, heavy meth users, right? I didn't even drink at the time because I knew, once the fuse is lit, it's only a matter of time before I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. Wow. So her dad was like, you don't drink? And I was like, no, I don't drink. He goes, I go, maybe on a special occasion I might have a drink. Well, this is a special occasion. And that's where it all started, drinking little by little, the compromise, drinking with her family, everywhere we go, I'm having a drink.
No God at this time, obviously.
Tried to go to church a few times, but no God.
Yeah, just religious.
Yeah. Then my nephew Polo, I get him a job. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault at all. But he starts slanging to the dudes out of my job. And one thing leads to another. And it's back to the way things were, just that quick.
Man.
Yeah.
So you had spaces there of time where 4 or 5 years, gaps where you didn't do no drugs.
Yeah.
And then you go back.
Yeah.
Because you hear, you see these shows all the time, 90 days clean, and then they go back, and then, you hear somebody do 2 years and maybe they go back. But you had spouts of 4 or 5 years, gaps there where you weren't doing anything, and then you go back.
Yeah.
Again, just sucked you in?
Off. 8, 10 times worse. Just back at it. And back to stealing cars.
And the stakes are way higher now.
Oh, yeah. Now I got a prison term already, So now it's going to be maybe a little more time. I don't know. But I end up going crazy again. And I end up getting in a high-speed chase in Victorville. I get into a high-speed chase. I get out the car, take off running. I jump a wall that's 3 feet on this side, and the other side's 10 feet.
Oh.
And I think it's just a 3 feet wall, so I jump. Boom. And I'm trying to crawl away, and then the sheriffs catch up to me and do a little tap dance on me. And I'm back. Now I'm in San Bernardino County Jail.
Were you in your stolen car?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
just took off.
Yeah. Stolen car, I was stealing cars to get back from San Bernardino to Victorville. Right? And so I'm in San Bernardino County Jail now, and I'm doing the whole county jail thing now, and I'm waiting, go to court. They're like, hey, you already got priors. You got in a high-speed chase. You're going upstate. I'm like, all right, well, how much time? Well, they want to write a letter to the military and find out if it's a strikeable offense.
That's coming back.
Shoot the deal. Whatever you got, I'll sign right now. All right. They want to give you 2 with half. Was it 2? Yeah, 2 with half. I was like, cool, I'll take it. Sign the deal. Forthwith. Send me whenever. Bam. Go upstate. Go upstate, and same thing. What am I going to do? So
Trying to fit in. So at this time, I start tattooing. I start tattooing in prison, and I'm literally either I'm tattooing or I'm playing handball and then softball. And I tell my kids this story. There's a lot of people, I'm sure you've had memories of hitting that winning shot at the park. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's game point. You got the ball. Bam. That's a good memory, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's dapping you up. My memory is in prison. Hitting the winning home run in a softball tournament on the yard. Winning every handball tournament there was on that prison yard. It was so bad that they were like, hey, Chris, don't come out today. We want to play handball. All right. Those are memories that I have. Not Little League, not at home, in prison. My fond memories are hitting a winning home run in prison, not, Little League World Series. And my daughters trip out like, what?
Are they any part of your life at that time?
Yeah. Not that time. But at that time, my wife she didn't want nothing to do with me. She had told me, I hope you die so somebody else can raise your kids. Oof. Yeah. And so I just was doing, just doing that.
So not even the love of kids or the necessity for them to need a father changed your aspect
at
on
that
anything?
At that point, no. Just no. And then, I paroled to the. So at this point, I read my Bible a lot in prison. I'm reading my Bible a lot.
Why though?
I don't know.
This.
I don't know. I just know that that's what I did. I read my Bible. I tattooed. I played handball. That's it.
The pastime.
Pastime. That's it. And one of the homies was like, yo, you should write my sister. I was like, no, I shouldn't. He's like, yeah, dude, she's a Christian. She goes to church. Okay, I'm not writing her. Come on, dog, write my sister. She lives in Victorville. She goes to church.
Hey, what kind of brother is that?
Yeah.
Man?
And I'm like, what do you mean?
No offense, bro. He must not like his sister very much. Here's a dude they're busted on meth, stab somebody in the military.
Yeah.
And, hey, write my sister, dog.
Right.
Dang.
I ended up paroling to his sister.
Wow.
Yeah. And, man, that's a crazy story. And I was only there for a little while. But they was crazy. Like, I was there only for a short while. And I've never, ever experienced, like, I'll just give you a brief, little short. She comes home. Help me with the groceries. All right. I go get the groceries. And there's poster boards. So she got kids. So I'm thinking, the poster boards, I grab them. And it says collecting donations. And there's a picture of a baby with tubes. I was like, yo, what is this? She's like, that's where we were. We were right there by the Kaiser. By the Kaiser in Fontana. Me and my sister and the kids holding up signs. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, that's what we do. They had a bag full of money, right? And I'm like,
Hey, that game's notorious out here.
So, no joke. That day I called my mom. Like, yo, I can't be here. You got to come get me. Because she was like, hey, you want to go with me next time? And I was like, I'll do a lot of things.
That was a tipping point for you.
That was a tipping
all the
point.
things.
Of
That
all
was
the things, like
you're like, nah, we can't play this game.
I'm scandalous at that point, but I'm not that scandalous. Yeah, that was too much for me. And so my mom sent.
It's funny that you say that because I'm sure you could rob somebody.
Yeah.
But to rob them that way, you're like, nah.
Nah. That was horrible. To me, that like I got enough bad. At what I would say back then was, I got enough bad stuff coming to me. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
In front of the hospital, especially.
Yeah. You're playing on heartstrings.
Yeah.
Nah,
and there's people that are facing that reality in that hospital.
Yes.
Right?
So my mom sends her husband at the time to pick me up, and I go back home. And
how old are you?
It's my second prison term. I'm probably mid-20s, close to 30 maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Second state prison term. I'm close to like 30 maybe. Yeah.
Are you getting tired at this point?
No, not at all. Prison was fun at that point. It was still fun. And it's crazy to say that.
I think it's hard for a lot of people to understand. There's dudes that enjoy
like
going back to prison. Was it structure? Was it because you didn't have to think what you had to do?
Nah, it was like, you wake up, you go to breakfast. As soon as the yard opens, you go play sports or work out. No
responsibility.
No responsibilities.
Just
that's it.
Yeah.
And God had his hand on me through all that. Through all of that. So then I go home and I start going to right here to Praise Chapel Rancho.
Okay.
Right? With Paul.
Camp's Church.
With Paul. Paul's here at the time, and they had a guy that me and Christina started talking again.
Okay.
Right? And what happened was, it was my birthday, and I was gonna be at my sister's house in Pico. And so I told her, hey, bring the kids. I want to see the kids. She was like, all right. So I go. She comes with the kids, and we get googly eyes. We see each other. We ain't seen each other in a long time. And we fall in love.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So we're back to talking and everything. And at this point, I'm with Paul Neville because I'm living with my brother right here in Rancho. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to the church. So I'm like, let's get counseling. She's like, all right, cool. So we start getting counseling, and we're thinking we're going to work things out. And she calls me one day like, I don't think I'm the woman God has for you. I said, all right.
Why did she say that?
Because I think she just pulled the rug out from me, because I think that was her time to hurt me.
A little get back.
A little get back. Maybe she might not think of it like that, but that's how I felt at the time, like a little get back. So I thought I was going to get her back. So me and my nephew, he's like, yo, I need you to help me out. I'm like, all right, what's up? He goes, my homeboy has a breathalyzer in his car. We're going to drop you off. I need you to, while he drives, I need to blow in his breathalyzer so he can get home. No problem. I got you. Let's go. So I'm blowing, and I'm like, man, you ain't going home? He goes, nah, we're going to the club. I'm like, he's like, Polo told me to take you to the club. He knew you didn't want to go. He said, just take you. And I'm like, all right. Go to the club. I'm drinking. I'm not really at this point, I can't drink too much or I get stupid. We get into a big old fight. Well, I get into a big old fight. Then we get into a big old fight. And I got blood all over me. And I get home and I call Paul, crying. And I got into a big old thing. Well, he's like, what's wrong with you, man? And I'm like, I don't know. Christina doesn't want to talk to me no more. And then Christina calls me like, what the heck's wrong with you? And I was like, you don't want to be with me. And she's like, well, you know. And it was just I don't know, just me being dumb again. Yeah. And so, Christina's in Orange County. I'm staying with my sister at the time. And I'm me and my nephew, we're kicking it tough. We're kicking it tough at the time. And I'm getting high already, I'm getting high. Again. I'm kicking it with some people I probably shouldn't be kicking it with. And she hits me up out of the blue. Like, hey, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, oh, we're going out. I'm coming with you. I'm like, no, you're not. She's like, yeah, I'm going with you. So, bam, we went out. We're out. We get back. And my nephew pulls out a mirror under the bed. And it's just a big old pile. So I'm like, hey, let's go outside. She's like, nope. Come on, let's get high. I'm like, nah. And I tried to explain to her, like, look, the only way I stop is when I go to prison. There's like no off switch for me.
Was she already getting high?
No.
So she had no...
No, she had been sober for like 8 years.
Oh, so she did it at one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she was like, come on, we're grown. We're big now. We're not. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting high with you. She's like, come on, let's get high. And we did. And we did. And so, we're getting high together. I'm running the streets. I'm kicking it. Got a little Harley at the time. I'm running around with these group of men and thinking again like I just want to fit in and be a part of something. And so ended up me and her bouncing from hotel to hotel with the kids, selling drugs and getting high, and just there were no limits now, There were no guardrails, no protection lines, nothing. We were just full force, let's do whatever. And so with the kids.
Wow.
And then I get busted. I get busted for a high-speed chase in Buena Park. She bails me out. Right? She bails me out. And she's like, we'll do. I'm like, look, I'm going to go to prison. It's a high-speed chase. I'm going to go to prison regardless. Sell the Harley. Right? Kicking it with some people. Bam. Still a car that was running in front of a house. Right? Take everything out of it. Well, I'm using the credit cards she has to buy gift cards. Bam. I get popped in her car. I see the cops pointing at me. I do a U-turn. I get into the parking lot of the hotel, and they get me out of the car. She's in the room. She's in the room with enough stuff in that room, not drugs or anything, but enough stolen items to probably send me and her away for a good little while. Right? God still had his hand on me the whole time. I tell the cops, take these keys and give them to the girl in that room. He goes, do you want me to go in that room? I was like, nah. He goes, I thought so. They took me. Now I'm bail.
Which is unheard of.
Right.
Unheard of.
Yeah. Now I'm fighting bail, crime, bail, or crime, bail, crime, or something like that, where you're going to get more time because you got another case while you're on bail. So they're telling me, you're a career criminal, bam.
Which you are.
At that point I am, yeah. And so they're they're showing me pictures. Who's this girl? It's Christina. And I'm like, don't know her. We're looking for her. We want her. I'm like, okay. So I go to court. They're like, hey, they want to give you 4. I said, hey, you got a case in the military. They're going to write a letter. Can it be striked? I said, yeah, just give me the deal. All right, then we're going to give you 4.
Which is still crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Because you've been busted a few times.
Yeah.
And they're only giving you 4.
Yeah. And I was like, shoot it. Let me get that. So I tell the DA when I signed the deal, I said, hey, that girl they're looking for, once I take this deal, are they still going to look for her? No. You're taking all the charges for everything.
What were the charges?
The charges were receiving stolen property, auto theft, identity theft, credit card theft. Right? So I said, look, can you call this number and let her know that they're not going to look for her anymore and that she's okay? I took all the charges. And the DA called her, told her, hey, you have nothing to worry about. Chris just took all the charges for all the cases. You're good. He's going to do 4 years.
Because who knows what would have happened to your kids?
Yeah.
If she got busted too.
They would have been with her mom. So Christina got busted a couple months prior to that, right? She got busted. We got busted in Baldwin Park, and I had to go get some money to bail her out. I got the money. I bailed her out. And then all this other stuff happened. But her mom told her I was 1 day away from calling CPS. And then
who knows what would happen?
Yeah. Then everything fell apart. Because God was already doing things. And it was crazy.
So the negative, what seemed like a negative was probably a positive for sure.
Yeah.
At that time.
So I go to Orange County Jail. And because of this group of people that I was
hanging out with. So you're just visiting all the county jails?
Yeah, all of them. You know, I'm making my rounds, you know. And so I'm at Orange County Jail now. And because of this group of men that I was hanging out with, they put me in a standalone, walk alone. So I was in a single man cell, escort everywhere you go.
So these were 1%ers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
A bike gang?
Yeah.
A bike club?
Yeah. So what happened was I got busted. Well, I got pulled over on a run to Palm Springs with this group of men, and they started a gang card on me because the last guy in the group, when the sirens go, you got to pull over. So I pulled over. You know, they started a card on me.
Take one for the team?
Yeah. And then they let me go. And I was like, all right, cool.
But now you have this jacket.
I get to the county jail. They're like, walk alone. All right, cool. This is where everything changes. I get to the tier, and I'm like, I can't do this no more, man. I can't live like this no more. My kids are seeing everything. You know, there's only so much things you can try to hide, and they're going to see.
Yeah, it's just done now.
Yeah. They walked in on me weighing dope. They walked in on me putting the pistol away. You know, Daddy has a gun. Do you know why I have a gun? To protect us. What do you need to protect us from? I don't know. You know? And so me and Christina were running crazy. We were Bonnie and Clyde, robbing people together, you know, just doing the most. And I get busted. And it saves our life. Saves our lives.
This time. What was different about this time?
This time is I have kids. I have kids.
The reality set in. Kids that know what's going on.
That know what's going on. The reality sets in. And I'm like, I don't want to live like this. So I go to the only place I know. And that's back to God. That's the only place I know. If there was ever a happy time in my life, it was while pretending to serve God. And so I made an announcement. I had a nickname at the time, and I made an announcement on the tier. Yo, my name is not this. My name is Chris, and you can address me as such from now on. I'm no longer this person. I no longer want to live this way. I'm serving God. And dude started laughing. Whatever, dude. Whatever. Everybody.
Jailhouse.
Oh yeah, we hear it before.
Right.
We hear it before.
Yeah.
All right. So dude started getting a little weird, like barking, like threatening me behind bars and stuff. And I'm like, whatever,
Because you gave it up?
I gave it up. I like, whatever, I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with this life no more. So, and I get the 4 years. I go upstate, and I'm upstate, and Christina is getting her life together too. She has to get sober because she got drug court. So she's getting sober. She's going to celebrate recovery to get her court card signed, And here I am, She starts sending me books. She's cold. She starts sending me books like How to Be a Man. So You Call Yourself a Man. All these books on about how to be a man.
About stepping it up.
Right. And I'm like, she sent me a book about healing a marriage when it's broken. And that book was about a worship leader, pastor, who gets called to a big church and has an affair and gets that girl pregnant. And the wife stays and they work it out. And God blesses that marriage. And that book stayed with me through everything. And so I'm busted. She's coming to visit me with the kids. When I get to reception, I start a prayer circle, right? The prayer circle starts with me and another guy, right? And then it gets to like 60 dudes every night.
So are you you've had an experience?
I've had an experience, but it's not over this, there's still
things,
a couple things.
Okay.
But
you're on the right track.
I'm on the right track, and then I start kicking it with these two knuckleheads that they don't care. I care, they don't. And I get caught up in wanting to be something I'm not again. And I ended up catching a fight with a dude, right? And catch a fight. We don't get rolled up, nothing. The cops are like, whatever, it was a one-on-one. You guys handled your business, whatever. I'm like, cool. Then I'm all ashamed now. I'm the guy who leads the prayer circle. So all this shame and condemnation are coming on me. And I'm like, man, forget this prayer circle. And then all the other guys were like, hey, it's just a fight, dog. Like, get back over here. Lead this prayer circle. So I'm over there leading the prayer circle. Then I get shipped out from there and go to the yard I'm on. And I want to fit in. And I ended up slamming meth in this prison yard. That's the last time I ever used meth since. I've been sober 7 years. June 14th. That was June 14th. I was in there and I slammed. I was the last guy, 6 guys, to use that needle. And by the grace of God, I don't have nothing.
Wow.
And 3 of those dudes were already, Hep C bad. And by the grace of God, I didn't get it. I don't have it. And then, then Christina's coming to see me, bringing the kids. I'm in my word. We're doing communion with like apple juice and Ritz crackers together when we come. I'm able to be with the kids, talk to them and everything. And Christina's parents at the time can't stand me. I'm the dude who dogged their daughters out. I have daughters now. I know with that. Like, man, I would hate for someone to dog my kids out. So
it's weird how that works, huh?
Yeah. So I'm like, man. So I didn't tell Christina, but I wrote a letter to her parents. And I was like, man, I apologize. I know, what I did was wrong. And I'm not asking you to forgive me, but I need to apologize, And that changed things. God was orchestrating things.
It had to be God because all those years, disappointment, back and forth.
Yeah.
I wouldn't believe you.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Christina was working on herself outside. I got transferred again. They had Celebrate Recovery where I was at. So I start going, and I'm working the steps, and I'm figuring out, like peeling this onion, figuring out that, you know, I had some identity issues. I remember sitting in my uncle's house, and we're sitting on the floor leaning against the couch, and he tells me, "You're a chameleon." What you mean? He goes, "You just blend in with everything around you. You have no identity."
Wow.
And I never thought about that till later on in life. You know?
It's hard. I think it's hard. It's hard to admit that, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to really. No, I know who I am. You know,
Yeah.
people want to say, you know, I know who I am. This is who I am.
Yeah.
But to really have you say that out loud, like, yeah, it was true. I was trying to fit in.
Yeah.
You know, even as an adult, as a youth, everybody's trying to fit in somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But you are 30-something years old, kids, and you're still trying to figure it out.
Trying to fit in, trying to be something I'm not, because I don't know at that time who I am. You know, I've been playing these different roles for so long that you forget who you are in your core. You know, I've been this people with this with this with this, you know, hard when you got to act hard and all this, and not really knowing, well, who is Chris really?
Who was Chris when you finally figured it out?
A scared individual.
Wow.
Scared, full of fear, more fear than anything, and lost. Like
Fear of what?
Fear of rejection, fear of missing out, and just plain, like, it's weird to say, but I was scared of the dark up until about, 8 years ago. Running out to take the trash out, or throwing it, running back. And, I always felt like somebody was watching me when I walk outside in the dark. It was weird, And I still have these weird, like, I don't like to go places I used to go because I don't want to run into people from my past.
Yeah.
And I always do. Run into dudes I was busted with, run into dudes I would run the streets with, and it's now it's good because now I can share with them, or they're like, what? And so, I'm doing Celebrate Recovery Inside. She's doing Celebrate Recovery Inside. Mind you, I get to where I'm at, and there's this dude I was in Jacob's Ladder with, right? He was one of Joey Chavez's homies, right? And he's like, he was in the bunk next to me on the bottom. And we're going to chow one day, and I'm behind him, and I go, "Hey, you're so-and-so." And he looks at me and goes, "How you know who I am?" I go, "We were in Jacob's Ladder together." And his face went,
"Oh,
like, you're Chris." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Little Chris, you ain't little no more." I go, I'm not a little kid no more. He, like a day later, he hands me a business card. He goes, because he knew my background, hand me the business card, and he goes, this might work for you. Don't work for me. And I'm like, all right. Had it in the book. Talking, my wife calls me, or I call my wife. She's at a barbecue. Like, "Hey, babe, we're not married, we're working things out." Call her. And at this time, it's getting close to me coming home, and I'm like, "Hey, we're talking, like, I'm going to go to a program." She's like, "All right, I'm looking for one." She starts sending me all this stuff for, like, Teen Challenge and all these men's homes. And I call day of the barbecue, and her uncle says, "Hey, I know this place where Chris can go when he gets out." And she's like, "Oh yeah, my uncle said there's this men's home in Fullerton at this church called New Wine, and they got a men's home." And I go, "In Fullerton?" She's like, "Yeah, the business card he gave me was for New Wine."
Wow.
And I had it in the book. And I said, "New Wine is on Brookhurst by the 91. She goes, "How do you know?" I go, "I've had this business card for the last 2.5 years as a bookmark in the book." She's like, "No way." I go, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm going to go check it out." So she goes, and she's like, "No way. You're not going there. All these dudes in vests, pushing motorcycles, wearing patches. There's no way. There's no way you're going here. No. I go, well, then find me something else. Okay. Her mom goes to a woman's tea, right? She's at a woman's tea, and there's a bunch of dudes serving, tatted up. So she's like, this is unlike her mom. Taps one of the guys. Hey, are you guys in a program? Yeah, we're in a men's home. Where? At New Wine Church.
Once again,
Yeah.
God's
Yeah.
favor
Yeah, and
leading you.
What's so crazy is I think back now, I did a lot of prison time in various different prisons, right? Over 17 years of my life, 17 years in and out of prison, not one riot, never been in a riot. And that's unlikely.
Didn't get caught up.
Didn't
Have to join
Yeah.
anything.
Nothing.
Just kind of made your way, found your lane, and was able to stay in that lane.
Yeah.
See, even with the brothers.
Yeah.
Right? It's unheard of.
Yeah.
Oh, come over here.
Yeah.
This
Stayed out of the
way.
way. Kept my nose in my business and didn't worry about what everybody else is doing. Played basketball, sling the handball, did a few tattoos. That's it. That's it.
So you get out and you go to New Wine.
I get out.
Men's home.
I get out. And I didn't want to go nowhere at first. Okay? I wrote the letter to her parents. Christina's busy at work. She's like, I can't pick you up. You're going to take the bus home. I ain't never taken the bus home from prison. Someone always picks me up. So I'm like, whatever, I'll take the bus home. So bam, go to the bus station, catch the bus. Bam. Her dad picks me up from Long Beach Terminal at the Greyhound, right? When he sees me, he hugs me, starts crying. He's like, I knew there was something different. And I was like, all right, we're hugging, embracing. We go home. I'm living with my mother and father-in-law and Christina and the kids. But Christina and me were married. So she had already made it clear to her parents, at night, I'm not here. Chris can sleep on the couch. The kids can stay in the room. At night, I'm going to stay with a friend. We're doing it right. And so she stayed with a friend.
Wow.
Right? We'd be on the couch watching TV, and her mom would come out like, you guys better move away from each other. Like, you better save room for Jesus. You know?
Doing it right.
Yeah, we're doing it right. We're not playing around.
Are you committed now?
I'm committed. I'm committed
That's
to whatever. To whatever God wants me to do at this point, I'm committed. But I was still hesitant to go to the men's home. And then we're watching TV. Christina took the day off. We're watching TV. And I hear dum, 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 dum. And she's like, what was that? I go, I don't know. I look out the balcony. All I see is her dad's feet. He fell down the stairs. Concrete stairs.
Oh.
Right? I run out there, pick him up. He's all scraped up, his face, his hands, fractured both his wrists, fractured his cheek. She comes to the top of the stairs. I said, get the keys. Go get the keys to the car. Then I don't know what came over me, but I instantly just prayed for him. Lord, help my father-in-law. Help him. Bam. Gets to the hospital. He comes home. 2 casts. God has a funny way of doing things. So for the next 2 months, I finally called the men's home. Right? My parole is in San Bernardino. They tell me, we can't accept you until your parole's transferred to Orange County. I said, all right. Went through all the paperwork. We're just waiting for the call. My father-in-law falls down the stairs. Every morning I make his coffee now. I'm taking care of him. I'm making sure he's okay. I'm making his lunch. My mother-in-law still working at the time. And God is restoring this relationship through this 2-month period of time. And the day he got his cast off, Orange County Parole called. Hey, you're cleared. You're here now. Cool. I called the men's home. Hey, I'm in Orange County. What's up? They're like, cool. Be here tomorrow, February 1st, 2017.
How long did you stay there?
I stayed there. I was there a couple months, Well, I stayed the whole year. My whole commitment to the program was a year. I was there. I completed the whole program. So, bam, I go to the men's home. They used to have like these couples nights, right? And my pastor, I would tell him like, hey, can I come? And he goes, well, yeah, it's just a couples night. So, bam, they're getting ready to go to a marriage retreat, right? And the ladies are telling my wife, like, are you guys going? They're all excited. And Christina's like, we're not married. Well, get married. What do you mean get married? And so we're like, she's like, I'm like, you want to go to the marriage retreat? She's like, well, that'd be cool. So I look at my pastor and I'm like, hey, can we go to the marriage retreat? He goes, yeah, you got to get married. I go, what I'm saying is if we get married, can we go to the retreat? He goes, yeah, you got to get married. 2 weeks later, Thursday after church, we got married.
Boom.
After 10 years of divorce.
Wow.
God did some amazing things, you know, things that I still baffled. Like through all this, I know I wasn't worthy, you know, but by the grace of God, Jesus said I was worthy and he restored it. And we've been married 5 years, 5 years of pure bliss.
Yeah. You guys get along great.
Oh, that's my,
Seeing the interaction, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first met her at your uncle's thing, right?
Yeah.
And you were like, you told me the story. You
Yeah.
were like, every 10 years we were just, I was like, wait, what?
yeah.
Happy. You know, we were out on the dance floor, dancing, having a good time, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was sincerely happy for you, man.
Yeah.
What is life like now, man, compared to what it was before?
Just a complete 180. A complete 180. Like, my wife used to think because she had a job and I was a dirtbag convict that she was like way better than me, right? And then when we started doing our dirt together, the playing field got leveled, right? So because we went through that together, like she's my rider. Like, I love her. It's weird, but I love her more now because she went through the trenches with me.
Right.
And that's my best friend. That's my ace, you know. And we love the Lord. And we're serving God together. We do ministry together.
Okay,
you know?
and then word on the street is you're the worship leader at your church.
Right. So I'm in the men's home, right? And there's a choir at the church, and I joined the choir. Mind you, at this time, I've never thought I could sing or never thought, you know, I just know that kind of worship's in the DNA of my family.
Yeah.
You know? And so joined the choir. And then we had a pastor from another church that facilitated our worship team coming together. And my pastor's wife, Sister Sharon, came up to me one day and was like, hey, we're starting a worship team. You want to be a part of it? And I was like, yeah. So I went to the director of the men's home and I was like, hey, I need to use your phone. He's like, why? So I called Christina and I was like, yo, I need a guitar. And she's like, for what? And I'm like, Sister Sharon just said that they're putting a worship team together. So I figured I need a guitar. And
Did you know how to play the guitar?
No, not even a little bit. I know. I'm left-handed. I play guitar right-handed.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Just because that's,
Yeah.
you know.
Because they don't make very left-handed guitars. And it's harder. It's easier to learn that. Yeah.
And so.
That's what he wanted to play that way.
Lefty.
And I was like, no, man, you're going to have problems.
Yeah. So she's like, no, I'm not getting you a guitar. Because, you know, if you know my background, there's a lot of things I started that I don't finish. So she's like, oh, this is just another one of his things, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to spend all this money on this guitar, and it's not going to do nothing. Bam. All right, don't trip. I call my brother. I'm like, hey, you still got that guitar? He's like, yeah, it's in my garage somewhere. I go, for my mom's birthday, you guys are coming to the church, right? Because we're going to have something at the church. He's like, I'll bring it. Don't trip. So he brings it. I hand it to Christine. I'm like, look, take it to the music store. Whatever they got to do, just get it dialed in. She's like, all right. She takes it to the music store. They're like $80. We'll tune it. We'll get it all together. New strings. Bam. She goes back to pick it up, and he's like, look, this guitar's, you put $80 into it, and it's just going to break. Who knows when? But the neck's already blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right. So she calls me, right? And I'm kind of down. She's like, look, that guitar's trash. She goes, but I got a surprise. He said, give me another $50, and I'll give you this brand new guitar.
Wow.
And he gave her a classic guitar, nylon strings. And so, bam, I got that guitar. And at first, when the worship team started, it was just like classroom setting. We were learning about what worship was and the administration part of worship and all these different areas of worship. Not just, we didn't even get on a mic for like the first 4 months, right? And so at this time, I'm in my room. They would let me go during the day to the office and watch YouTube videos. And I would print out chord charts. And I would just ruin my bunkies' ears for a few months, right? A few months, they were like, yo, you suck. And I was like, cool, you know? And then I learned 2 songs. And those 2 songs, I was just picking it up. 2 songs, right? So, mind you, here comes a marriage retreat. Bam, we go to the marriage retreat, and there was a guy that used to come at our church for anger management, and he used to do worship with his guitar, and he used to give me pointers, right? And so I credit him for a lot of the stuff on the guitar that I know.
Yeah.
And so we get to the marriage retreat. His wife goes into labor. He was supposed to do worship, so he didn't even make it up the hill. We were in Big Bear, like, you know, that area, Twin Peaks. And so my pastor sees me and he goes, hey, did you bring your guitar? Because Christina was like, bring your guitar so you can play and sing to me. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I bring it. I go, yeah. He goes, good, you're doing worship. I was like, I only know 2 songs. I guess that's only 2 songs we're doing every service. So I was like, cool. I get up there. It's not even electric. I got to put the mic next to it. And I'm playing. But I'm leading worship. Right? So I only knew 2 songs. That night, me and Christina were in the room learning how to play Great Are You, Lord, till 1 a.m. And the next day I had 3 songs.
Wow.
And led worship. And then things started, you know, the worship team started developing. And Sister Sharon was the leader of everything. She was over all of us. And then she started like pulling away. And she was like, all right, it's out of my hands now, Chris. You're the worship leader. You're in charge of the singers and then our keyboard player, Dave. You're in charge of the musicians. But Chris, you're the worship leader.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute. It's all God. And so once again, the worship team's been together going on, I think, 6 years. And I've been leading worship ever since.
Dang.
And it's been just, you know, a journey.
So you've been a punk kid.
Yeah.
Labeled a nerd.
Yeah.
Convict.
Yeah.
Jailhouse athlete.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Dirtbag, you called yourself that, right?
Yeah.
Absent father.
Yeah.
Horrible husband.
Yeah.
Worship leader.
Yeah.
Who is Chris today?
I'm a servant. Above all else, I'm a servant. That's it. I'm the guy who races to the back of the line. I just want to serve. I just want to, you know, see other people changed by what God is, how God has changed me. I want to see other lives changed. And my, you know, we're deacons. We're deacons at the church. God has a sense of humor.
Deacon now.
Yeah, God has a sense of humor. We're leadership at the church, you know, and we pour into people's lives, you know. And who I am today is a worship leader, a man of God, and a good dad.
And husband.
And a good husband.
I can tell your wife loves you, man.
Oh, man.
just have a blast.
Yeah, we do. Everywhere.
It's just fun. You can just tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud of you, man.
I appreciate that.
And you come a long way. And a lot of people would have given up.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of, forget it. It's just too much to come back. And to be where you were 7-8 years ago and say, you know what, this is it.
Yeah.
This is my shot. I got to make the change.
Yeah.
And the favor that God's had on your life is only God. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. Like you said, there's no way to explain all these little checkpoints or little bookmarks in your life, right? There's it was just God.
Yeah.
And I think God uses a lot of the negative stuff that happened in our life for His good.
Yeah.
You know, we think life's going to be all this way, right? We have a plan. It's going to be like this. And then God says, no.
Yeah.
It's going to be like this. But I'm going to use this for my good. And I think that's when I hear your story, man, and everything, and it's amazing. And I'm proud that you never gave up. It's good to see that your wife loves you. The party before last that we were at, I got to meet your daughters.
Yeah.
They adore you. You know, they're just like you, by the way. I don't know if that's good or bad, but they're funny like you. They look like they like to have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, just fun girls. You know what I mean? And so I'm really, it's good to see that, you know, you turned out good, man.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, you know, we have a men's home still at the church, and I see these guys come in and out. And
do you see guys that look like you, or remind you of yourself, and you're just like, and they try to run game on you?
It's crazy you say that. You know, me and my cousin went on a fishing trip Sunday, and this dude came up to us and just started vomiting his life on us. Nothing good at all, just craziness. And we were just looking, and that dude walks away, and he goes, "That was you." And I was like, "Yeah, that was me." And you know, I see that. I see it in a lot of people. And, you know, I tell, like, we had guys that come and go, you know, from the men's home and stuff. And I look at my pastor and I go, man, it took me 40 years. 40 years to finally say enough's enough, you know, like, but then some supernatural things, you know, happen. Right. God had to, you know, God got a hold of me, or I got a hold of God, either way you want to put it. And it's just been, my pastor has this thing, you know, put your seatbelt on, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's going to be a good ride, but there's going to be bumps,
right?
You know, and that's what we've been doing. We just keep our seatbelt on, and we're just, when I was in the men's home, I had a little whiteboard. I tell this story a lot. I had a little whiteboard, and I wrote on it, I'll walk through every door God opens. And I've been walking through every door He opens since I graduated, and since I've been in the men's home. Whatever, you know, God has for me, I go. You know, there's not too many things I won't do for God, or, you know, if they ask me to do this, I'll do it. And it's just been a journey, an amazing journey. And it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
you know?
It's not over yet.
Nah, it's just scratching the surface.
That's it.
That's it.
You know what time it is right now, right? Well, you watch the podcast. What do we got? Furious 5?
Furious 5.
We got the Furious 5, Chris. I appreciate you coming out, man. But we got to do 5 Furious questions here, man.
Okay.
Wrap this up. You know what this is about, right? If Chris can go back and tell 13-year-old Chris something, what would you tell him?
Don't do it. Don't do the drugs. You'll like it too much. Don't do the drugs.
Question number 2 on the Street Gospel Furious 5. One motorcycle that you can get right now, what would you get?
Man, I'm really happy with the bike I have.
What do you got?
I got a 2007 Kawasaki Nomad 1600.
which is unheard of for a old Harley guy, right? A 1%er. You wouldn't be caught dead.
Yeah.
With a Kawasaki, right?
The one thing I learned is that the wind's the same on every bike you're on.
Yeah, it feels the same. The bugs are the same.
Yeah,
Everything's the same.
Everything's the same.
Question number 3. If you could pick any career, what would it be?
Man, any career? Growing up, I always thought I wanted to be a cop. Which is crazy.
Bro, that's crazy.
It's crazy, right?
How is that? That's funny.
That was crazy. There's so many people in my family that are cops. You know,
True.
We're playing basketball at Salt Lake Park.
Phil wanted to be a cop forever.
My uncle pulled up.
Yeah.
He's a cop at Huntington Park.
Right.
You know, my cousins are all cops. So that was kind of a thing when I was a kid.
A cop.
Yeah.
The convict wanted to be a cop
Yeah.
when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Question number 4. Greatest worship band right now.
Right now?
Right now.
Ooh. Dang, the one that hits me, I'm gonna go Elevation Worship.
Elevation Worship?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Elevation Worship. Yeah. A little, I mean, they're popular for sure, but a little under the radar. A lot of great songs. I mean, Hillsong gets the acclaim all the time, and Maverick City and all those ones get kind of the big props right now. But Elevation Worship's kind of been that steady.
Yeah, they're the ones I'm on.
All right.
And then Thrive. I've been listening to a little Thrive worship lately.
A little bit of Thrive?
Yeah.
All right. Question number 5. Last one, man.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years?
Yeah.
Worship pastor. Yeah.
That's a good goal.
Worship pastor. I get emotional. But yeah.
Yeah, there's something about worshiping, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think when you've been through a lot, there's a lot of gratefulness, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah.
Shouldn't be here.
No. And what's crazy is people tell me like, oh, when like after the worship team was together and then we had another marriage retreat, we spoke at that marriage retreat, and when they introduced us, they said the worship leader who preaches at the same time. Because I tend to want to connect and just tell people how I feel. Like, you know, there's no reason my life should be this good.
Right.
In the fathom of everything and thinking of everything, the only reason is the grace of God. That's it.
So good, man.
So good.
I appreciate you coming out, brother.
Man, thank you for having me.
That was a good
Chapter 7.
2 hours, 12 minutes.
And now behold, I would speak somewhat on
It's good, man.
It's good.
Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you too.
I'm really happy for you, man. I truly am. It's good to see where you're at today, man.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Love you too, bro.
That'll conclude this episode of the Street Gospel Podcast with Chris Mora. We appreciate you guys listening. This fool doesn't have an Instagram or nothing like that, so go visit his church at New Wine. He'll be on stage. We out.